Right, welcome back everyone. We wanted to do an update on the lithium batteries that we had, right?
Yeah.
So if you remember from last time, there was a previous video we had called lithium battery install Solar King batteries with Victron Energy components. If you haven't seen that video, go and check it out. And we'll link it in the description. But from our previous experience from the Solar King batteries over the last few years, since we've had it installed, it has been fantastic for us. It's been so much better than the AGM batteries, right, sweetie?
Yep.
So, but now we can run the air conditioner through it, and we feel that three batteries for us, three of those big batteries are just the right balance for us. It would be nice to have an extra battery, but like there's just no point. We may benefit sometimes, but we've really got, like, it takes up a lot of space, these batteries. So it's just the right balance for us to have three. So what I want to stress with using your air conditioner for your lithium batteries, it's not just you want to have bigger batteries, more battery capacity. You've got to have the balance of more battery capacity, and you've got to have a bigger solar array. Yeah. You've got to have that bigger solar array to sort of balance it out, because there's just no point. You could have a big battery bank and you don't have the solar array to back it up, and you're not going to be able to use it, because all you're going to do is consume your whole batteries. You've got to have a big solar array to do it. So we have expanded the solar array on the roof that we have, because we don't have the collapsible boat up there. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah. So
we've got more space on the roof. We're utilizing that with more solar array. But we've expanded that, but we've also expanded our supplementary solar. So we've got fold-out solar panels that we can use when we get to a camp spot if we want to use that, off-grid, right?
Yeah.
Which is how it will work. Yeah, that's what's actually powering the air conditioner, is your big solar array. And the batteries just allow you to use it maybe in the afternoon or at night time if you need to.
Yeah.
Or if you come back from a trip and, oh God, just want to have a shower and cool down. That's what's actually powering it, right? Is the solar array. It's not necessarily the batteries. The batteries just take your ups and downs out of it. That's all it does. But so you've got to have that balance. So some lithium battery manufacturers build into their batteries to have a high C rating. And that gives you the ability to have a higher output per battery size. So like for example, some manufacturers might have a 100 amp hour battery and it has a high C rating. So it's able to put out 100 amps of power, of continuous power, to maybe an oven or something like that. And I can see how someone might want to do that. They get to their camp spot and they need a high output for a short period of time. But don't forget, if you've only got one small, you're not going to be able to put it out for very long. Don't forget, because consuming 100 amps from a small that's really not much.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to use that for. That's only time you'd be able to use it. Maybe you'd use a blow dryer or some other device which uses a large amount of power in a short period of time. But we found, even with our air conditioner, which does use a lot of power, like, it is a big consumer. And for a long time, it was our biggest consumer, right? And and it's still our biggest consumer over periods of time. So the rest of our big consumers use a large amount of power over short periods of time. The air conditioner uses a lot of power over a long period of time, right? So with our batteries, we didn't need that. And so, I mean, we didn't need 200 amp hour batteries with 200 amp continuous output, because our air conditioner, even if it consumed 1,000 watts, which would be like double what we use right now.
Yeah.
That's only like 77 amps, and we've got three of them, and each of them are capable of putting out 100 watts continuous all the time. So there's no point having these big high C rating batteries, because the regular low C rating batteries do it anyway. So we decided to get Solar Kings, not just because they're reliable, but also because they're much cheaper, so we're not paying double for our batteries, because that's what you'll pay. If you get these high C rating batteries, you'll pay double for the batteries, and there's just no point. because we have 3 of them, each with 100 amps continuous output. That's 300. We're never going to get anywhere near 300 amps continuous output from even our biggest consumers. I mean, we've only got a 2,000 watt inverter. We're not going to get anywhere near that. That's like 150 amps. And that's still half of what, even if we max out our inverter, it's just not going to get anywhere near that. So, and that is the thing about the lithium batteries. They're going to be your biggest expense. You'll have lots of chargers and cables and all kinds of things. The batteries are your biggest expense. So you want to get something that's reliable, but you also want to get something that's suitable. If you need high C rating, get high C rating. But if you don't, then you can save some money on your batteries, right? And we've found that the Solar Kings have been very reliable for us. So over 2 years, haven't had a problem with them, okay? So with where we left off, there were some issues with the setup that we had. We had problems with the cable length, the cable size. We wanted to put a capacitor in. We had some suspicions about the alternator, and we wanted to expand the capacity of our solar array. Yeah. Right. So that's where we sort of left it off, and it's been a sort of a big sort of road to sort of change that, and it's only just been sort of fixed. I mean, all of it's only just been fixed, right? Like within the last, we've only just put that new fan in, but when we were in Queensland, we'd solved like 90% of the problem. We drilled new holes. We took out that old 4-gauge cable that was being used to charge. So we put in these massive cables. They're like, we went from 4-gauge cable to 3-naught cable. We've reduced the cable length because we drilled those holes, and now it goes straight from the capacitor all the way over to the cranking battery, and it goes straight there, like as the shortest line possible, straight to the cranking battery, and that comes from the alternator. So that feeds in much better. But we're still having problems at the time, right? Even once we'd installed those big cables and reduced the length, and we're still having problems because we had problems with the alternator. And we also got these little devices that we'll show you later, that just like a little square that you put on the battery, and it monitors your battery through an app, and that can track, that allows you to track, see where the power is going and what's sort of happening. And we decided to do a test. We were like, okay, let's charge up the battery and do a test next time we go to Brisbane. And so we turned off the chargers. We wanted to charge up the front cranking battery and do a test. We got to Brisbane and the front cranking battery still wasn't charged up. Hey.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we turned off the air conditioner that it slowly started to charge up again. And that we pretty much 90% knew that there was got to be a problem with the alternator after that. So what we did, we took it to a specialist on the Gold Coast, and they took the alternator out, stuck it on a test device on a bench.
So now there's the RPM. So that's setting at 1,000 RPM. But if you bring it down to idle, that's what you add there, like that low voltage, and that's setting at 1,000 RPM. With other ones, it's at 14 volts. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So when you bring it up, it will charge, but that's it. Like, and that's now with no load or anything. Once you put a load on, that just stacks. So let's put a load on it, like an aircon.
Oh wow, nothing.
That's our aircon, then it's no good again. This is sitting over there, it's sitting on floor from that. So it can't take the load.
That's exactly what the aircon was doing.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a problem with the alternator. We originally thought that the alternator was a 140 amp hour alternator. It's actually only a 120 amp alternator. We wanted to get if possible, we wanted to get a higher amp capacity alternator.
Yeah.
But we couldn't do that. That wasn't an option for our vehicle. It is an option for other vehicles, but not for this one. So we just replaced the alternator with a 120 amp alternator. So now that we've got the 120 amp alternator, it's filled in that big gap. So now these are our 3 batteries here. 1, 2, 3. All of the cables between the batteries need to be the same length. You obviously see between here, it doesn't look like it needs to go that way, but it does, because it needs to be exactly all the same length. So off the positive comes, we have the T-class fuse to protect the inverter. Now that goes off into this line here through to the inverter. And that is the biggest consumer out of all of these. Some of them are chargers, some of them are consumers, but off this T-class fuse is the bus bar, and all of this has the mega fuses, which goes to either the consumers or the producers. And from that goes to the low voltage cutout, which is the Smart Battery Protect, and that goes to another bus bar, and that fuses off to other consumers as well. First is all the main consumers, which is the fuse box here, but each of these has a fuse on it as well. Okay. Now, we've shown most of this previously in another video, but some of the changes that we've made are for this 240 volt charger. We changed the wire size. It was originally 8 gauge, but because of the distance, the cable size was heating up a little bit too much at these points. So we've increased it to a 6 gauge cable here, and we've also added a little fans. I know it's hard to see, but there's actually fans in there which push the airflow this way,
Yeah.
which is across the space here, because it's a very enclosed space. We can't have all this stuff outside, so we've enclosed it in here, but because we've enclosed it, we need fans. So that fan keeps this device cool, otherwise it will throttle. If it overheats, it'll throttle, and you won't be able to use the full capacity of what you've got. I mean, you might as well not even have that charger, because it's a nice big charger, but you won't be able to use it to its full capacity if you don't run the cooling fans. So you've got to have cooling fans if you're in an enclosed space like this, which we do. Have the fan cooling the device itself, and the injection fans are cooling the whole space itself. We've also got an extraction fan down over in the corner here, which I think we had these fans when we showed last time, but we didn't have the additional injection fan here. So originally we had the low capacity quiet injection fan here. We've replaced that with the high capacity injection fan, and we've shifted the low capacity injection fan over here. So if we are using a lot of power with either the air conditioner at like higher levels, or if we're using the oven, we can use the injection fan as well, or especially if we're using the DC to DC chargers. These are probably the things that heat up this space the most, the DC to DC chargers. And this Smart Battery Protect also heats up quite a lot as well. So we've mentioned before that we've put some washers in here to increase the surface area of the Smart Battery Protect, but we've also added little fans on the DC to DC chargers to take the injection flow from this zone here, and it pushes the airflow out from the DC to DC chargers. So on each of them there's 2 tiny little injection fans that flow past the heat sink on each of these devices, and to keep the whole system cool. So you keep your temperatures down, which are slightly above ambient temperature, which is really ideal. And so now we have that resolved. We also have the new power cables coming from the alternator. So this comes through here, it goes to a hole right next to the fridge. There's 2 holes right next to the fridge, and this runs the short cable from the capacitor to the cranking battery, and that from the capacitor goes into the DC to DC chargers. It doesn't look like it, but it's all fused. The only things that aren't fused are maybe these cables here, but they all have protective cable on them already. Yeah. And so that's pretty much what we've got underneath. I'll just check my notes to see if I've got anything else. So the other thing was that we changed this inverter around. So this inverter used to be facing the other way, but we've changed it so that the cables are much closer to the battery. And because they're now closer to the battery, we've got a shorter cable size, which allows us to have much less voltage drop. You're always fighting against voltage drop, especially when you've got a high amount of current going through the lines, like your DC to DC chargers. If you're going all the way to the front battery at only 12 volts, if you're sucking 60 amps through that, then it's going to really struggle through a 4-gauge cable. So we've increased it to a 3/0 cable. And we're also going to increase this. I know it's only a short distance here to here, but because we've got the oven, we're going to increase this cable size to a 3/0 cable as well, so that we can run the oven through that as well. So with this system, we happened to get a new air conditioner, not because we wanted to, but we did need to. We'll show a separate whole video for it. But the beauty part about our new air conditioner, it's got a new eco mode, which allows you to sort of back off the full capacity of the consumption of the air conditioner, and we find we're using like almost about half of what we're using for the air conditioner if we're only in sort of a warm environment, and so we don't use so much power from it, and then we don't have to run the loud injection fan, and it's just so much better with the new air conditioner. But we'll show you that with a separate video. So a lot of changes have happened with the vehicle. We've swiped a few roos. We've had to get the new paint job was falling apart as well. So we've had to take everything off the top of the roof, the solar panels, even the boat is gone now. So we'll get to that. There's something about that. We've got we've taken the solar panels off, we've taken the toolbox off, we've had to take the roof racks off, the whole thing except the air conditioner. That was the only thing that stayed. So the air conditioner stayed, and we had the whole van painted, and then everything sort of went back on. We cleaned out the air conditioner and put it back together, gave it a test. The air conditioner didn't work, so we had to get a new air conditioner. In the end, it ended up being the little heating conversion device. So that wasn't repairable. We would have had it without the heating device. So now we have a new air conditioner. It's a better air conditioner, and that's back on. The solar is back on, and now we have extra solar. So it's all been such a big operation for us, and literally it's taken months for it. That's why it's taken so long for us to do another video. We've had to get all this done. We've had a wedding. I've been a little bit sick, and so it's all just starting to come back together for us now. And now we can all sort of share all what's been happening. So if you're thinking about changing over from AGM batteries like we did, don't get overwhelmed, because each little device, it's mostly just power in, 2 powers in and two power out. Like, it's really not that complicated. You start to get ahead of yourself, and you're thinking, oh, how am I going to do this low voltage cutout, and how am I going to do this low temperature, high temperature thing? All that sort of stuff will sort of come. It's best just to get the cables in, and then check the manuals and see how you're going to do these temperature cutouts and stuff later, because that all just sort of comes together. It seems like overwhelming because you've got so many chargers to think about. You've got your DC to DC chargers, you've got 240 volt chargers, you've got solar charge controllers, and all these other fuses and things to think about. It's easy just to get overwhelmed. What my advice would be is just to take one step at a time, and one charger, one battery sort of at a time, but make sure you get your cable lengths and sizes right. Use a matrix chart which shows you for your cable length how thick you need your cable to be, and then you can go from there for what size cables you want. And always go a bit large, especially if you're working with 12 volt system, because with a 24 volt or a 48 volt system, you can have much smaller cables, but not with 12 volt. Your cable has got to be much larger, which is why you can see we're using 3/0 cables sometimes. It's just a massive cables that you need sometimes for this system just for it to operate. So that would be sort of my advice. Don't get overwhelmed, and don't think that you need a professional all the time. We found that sometimes when we thought we need a professional to do something, in the end, they just didn't end up doing as good a job as we would have done ourselves. And once it's installed, like what was it about that installed that, how it was installed and how it needed to be addressed. So if you have issues in the future, if someone else installs it, you don't know how to fix it. But if you install it yourself, you know how to address what it's done, and you take that care in each process and the time for planning it, rather than just going to get someone to quote to do something particular and then it's not done the way that you like it, or there's something hanging out and you're left stuck with it like that for the rest of your experience. And that was the thing, especially with these big cables that we had installed. We took it to these people to try and get these new holes drilled, and they just weren't able to provide the service that we knew we had trouble with, but we ended up being able to do ourselves. So that would be my advice. Try and do as much as you can yourself, especially in Australia, because labor's so expensive. And when you install it yourself, you know that you are doing it just right. You're taking that care to have it done the way that you need it to be relied upon. Yeah, but keep it tidy and protected from the beginning. Keep your cables protected and covered. Have your fuses in the right size. Have your cables the right size and with the looming around them, and you should be right. And especially if you have good gear like the Victron Energy, you shouldn't have any overheating problems, especially if you have the fans on like we do. But if you have these Victron Energy vertically mounted, they don't need fans at all. So with the supplementary solar, if you can see, just show down here, sweetie. So with the supplementary solar, all of our supplementary solar fits under the bed. Now originally, just come back up to me, originally we had only 3 supplementary solar blankets, and we didn't know what we wanted to do there exactly. We were thinking about getting these flat mounted solar panels, but they didn't seem to be as reliable or last as long. And also we weren't sure how they would fit in perfectly with the size that we had. So we decided to just go with more solar blankets. They're just basically fold out solar panels. And so we've gone from 3 to about 3 200 watt solar panels that are supplementary to what we have on the roof as well, to another 4, so we've got 7 200 watt solar panels. So we've now got 700 watts of solar on the roof, and we've now got another 1400 watts of supplementary solar underneath the bed that we can deploy when we get to where we want to camp remotely, and use that power with the balance of the batteries to run our air conditioner and any other big consumers that we have. And we can keep cool in hot environments, but we just got to deploy these extra solar panels, and it really fills in the gaps, and we can have a really cool time where we're at. And especially if you come back, you're fishing, you're super hot, and you just want to get in and cool down. So originally the antenna was in this position here. So what we've done is we've removed everything from this side over here. The boat and everything is all gone. We've put some new mounting beams across which hold the solar panels, and we've added another 2 solar panels on this side here. So no more antenna here. That's been shifted over to the other side. I'll show you where that's gone. Yeah. And because the antenna is gone, it was originally mounted there for ease of deployment, but it's a little bit harder to deploy on the back where it is now. But we can have an extra solar panel here, and it doesn't get in the way of where the solar panels are. So we've got the extra solar panels here, and we've got the Starlink mounted at the back. Yeah. Okay, and that has been a real game changer for our internet. Put the LED lights in on the awning here as well. So those any LED lights go across there. I'll try and turn those on.
Yeah, that's the LED lights. Yeah.
So that we've got the LED lights. Rightio. Okay. And this is the new location of the antenna. So this is the 3G, 4G antenna that it's on a pivot, and we just deploy it up when we need to use it and put it away when we're driving. It's a little bit harder to get there, but at least we can have more solar. More solar, the
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
Basically, however much solar that real estate you have on the roof, just basically max it out as much as you can, especially if you're trying to use your air conditioner like we are. Yeah. So we also have you can see the LED lights below there. So we have LED lights on this side as well.
Yeah, that's it there. It's already on.
So in some upcoming videos, we'll talk about, there's some issues with the fridge. It's probably the most important thing, change we're making with our electronic system, issues with the fridge and how we'll resolve that. We'll do a video about the antenna and the Selfie Go that we've been using and what we're doing with the Starlink, because we've just installed the Starlink. We're really happy and excited to share with what we're doing with the Starlink, and maybe some other new update videos and see where we're taking the channel from here, right? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next video.